Okay, so you notice in front of you, you see a partial skeleton. And what I'm going to focus on right now is the humerus. All the important parts about the humerus, questions that I might ask about the humerus and things that you need to know. So I wanted to start right here because I want you to see the individual humeri, the one on the right that I'm pointing to and the one on the left, and how it's oriented in anatomical position with the articulating bones, especially on the left-hand side, and the important landmarks of the humerus. Before we get started here, I'm going to start taking out some of these things. So I'm going to take out all of these related bones here. So I've taken out essentially every bone of the thorax. Let me see here. I'm going to take the scapula out on the right-hand side. So now the only thing on the right-hand side is the right humerus, and on the left-hand side you have the humerus articulating with the left scapula, the left ulna, and the left radius. So let's focus on the humerus on the right-hand side. Now, it's important to recognize superior and inferior. Another term for that would be proximal and distal. Superior on this bone is here. Inferior is right here. Another term for inferior in this case would be distal. Distal being further from the midline or further from the point of origin. Proximal, closer to the midline, closer to the point of origin. This is an anterior view. You can tell that it's an anterior view because if we're going to step back here for a second, and you'll notice there's a slight indentation. There's two slight indentations in the distal portion of the humerus. And when we rotate it around, you'll see there's a single indentation in the distal portion of the humerus. Okay. This single indentation articulates with the ulna, and it's very, very large relative to the other two. So the anterior portion of the humerus. We're going to start anterior and up or proximal on the humerus. And so we're going to start and point out some major landmarks, things that you might be asked. First thing right here, the portion of the humerus that articulates with the scapula and forms that within the glenoid cavity is the head of the humerus. Just distal to that is the anatomical neck. And then you'll see there's two major bumps here, separated by a groove. There's a bump right here, and there's a bump right here. Excuse me, and then there's a groove right here. The lateral groove, so this is medial, this is lateral. The lateral groove is the greater tubercle. That means the medial groove, the lateral prominence is the greater tubercle. The medial prominence is the lesser tubercle. And the groove within the two is the intertubercular groove. Just like an interstate on the highway, intertubercular groove. Proceeding further down here, you have the surgical neck. And then you have a prominence right here that I'm outlining right there, and that is called the deltoid tuberosity. That's a prominence for a point of articulation for the deltoid bone. Scrolling out some, so we've looked at the major portion of the humerus right here. And now we're going to move down and distally. This bone once again is in anatomical position, and this is the right humerus. So I'm going to scroll over to the left humerus. I want to show you or remind you what anatomical position is in terms of the elbow joint. So this is what we're talking about now. Humerus right here, medial, closer to the midline, and it is the ulna, and then the radius is further away. Okay, so the radius is always further away. The radius is associated with the thumb, distally from there. The ulna is closer to the midline and is associated with is in line with the pinky. So going back to the other side here, take this out. Now you have the distal portion of the humerus here. This portion right here, this prominence right here is called, this is a condyle here. And so this is a medial, because it's medial, and above it, epicondyle. There are nerves and blood vessels that come down posterior to here, and they wrap around this prominence right here. And if you ever hit yourself right there, that's called your funny bone. So this is the medial epicondyle. This is the trochlea. This is the capitulum. And the lateral epicondyle. Above these, this is the coronoid fossa. And the main distinction for you to understand for identifying anterior and posterior is you see this prominence right here. So this prominence right here creates a shallow depression on the left hand, or on the medial portion and the lateral portion of the bone. And if we scroll around here, and it's going to come back to us, and we get back a little bit, we're going to see a much deeper depression right here. Now this is the posterior surface of the bone. This is the olecranon fossa. So the ulna wraps around here, and when your arm is fully extended, your elbow, the olecranon, articulates right here and right where my thumb is, right there, or right where my pointer is. So let's review here for 1 second. How do you identify left and right bones of these long bones if one of these are on a practical or on a quiz? Well, first point here is to look for the head. You know that the head has to be pointing superior and medial, the head of the humerus. Conversely, the epicondyles have to be inferior. And what is this part right here? Well, this is the medial epicondyle. So you look for that large notch there. That large notch is medial. This is superior and medial. And then finally, this olecranon fossa is posterior. So with that, then this has to be the right humerus. Okay, we're going to stop right there.